What's up, everybody? I'm already slurring. Welcome to Travis and Vic's Drunken Horror Adventures. This is Travis, and here shortly I'll be joined by Blake and Vic and Johnny Trevisani. So it's going to be an interesting show, and it is a long time coming, I feel like. We're talking about a show that I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's something from my childhood. It's something that I can remember quite well from my childhood, at that. It's the Menendez Brothers. We're talking about Lyle and Eric. So, should be an interesting time tonight. Like I said, this is a long time coming. I remember when I was, I'd have to look at the actual timeline of it. But, remember when I was a kid and this thing happened. And so, here we are. But just for a brief background on everything, on August 20th, 1989, which would have been 29 years ago, yesterday, Lyle and Eric Menendez murdered their parents, Jose and Mary Kitty Menendez. And that's kind of where things begin. But there's a whole hell of a lot more to it than that. And that's something that we're going to get into here in just a brief second, as soon as I can get the fellas on the line. Anyway, so like I said, this is a famous case, and I talked about this with Blake and Vic previously, that I remember this period of time. Again, I was 7 years old when the murder happened, but I remember not so much the actual murder taking place, but the trials. On and on this thing went. This was not a quick, overnight solution to whatever the hell happened that night on August 20th, 1989. This was a long situation that just went on and on and on. So, and that's what we're going to get into tonight on the show with Vic and John and Blake. So, just kind of jump into some stuff right here, because you got to know the players who are at work here. This best way to start this off is to talk about Jose Enrique Menendez, and that is Lyle, or was Lyle and Eric's father. He was born in Havana, Cuba on May 6, 1944. At the age of 16, he actually moved to the United States following the upheaval of the Cuban Revolution, which Jesse Ventura has actually talked about the Cuban Revolution before, and how if we had gone to war with them, like we did Vietnam, it may have turned out poorly for us, like Vietnam. Who knows? Just stating for the record type thing. So he actually, following that, he attended Southern Illinois University, where he met Mary Louise Kitty Anderson at the time. And the two married in 1963 and moved to New York City, where Jose earned a degree in accounting from Queens College. And while he was living in New York City, the couple began a family. Their elder son, Joseph Lyle Menendez, which is obviously a major player in this whole thing, who went, of course, by his middle name, Lyle, was born January 10th, 1968, which would make him, Jesus Christ, he's 50 years old now. I see Johnny is here, and I believe Blake is here too. I don't know if they're on the line yet, but what's up, fellas? Let me go ahead, click the unmute for both of you so you don't have to do it yourselves if there's any issue. Johnny, you there, bud?
I'm here, man. How you doing?
What's going on, man?
It's just a wonderful summer these days, so it's all good. How about you?
Doing well, man. And, I was kind of giving some background on this Menendez Brothers case. Do you have any, memories of this whole thing? I was 7 when it took place, but I remember the trial and things of that nature. Because, shit, man, it went on for years and years after the fact.
Yeah, I'm going to remember vaguely when it hit the news cycle, but it wasn't until later on I started doing some research on it, and I always thought it was kind of unique. Because, they were like this really successful family, this successful entertainment family, and it was just really weird, But I thought that there was little things in it that were really kind of unique. But I'm sure you'll get into those things. But, Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a big memory when it actually broke, but just after what I researched after it.
Yeah. Yeah, Blake, what about you, buddy? You there?
I'm here. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing well. I
Hey,
know we're
Blake.
doing a little rehash for you, but talk about any kind of memories you might have of whenever this broke. I know you're a little younger than me, so I mean you probably don't remember when the murders took place, but maybe the trial aftermath.
I do remember some of the trial aftermath, and that was, I think, just a couple of years before the O.J. Simpson debacle. So I was 4 when they committed the murder, so I was probably about 6 or 7 when they had the trial, and it was all over the news always, and there were always, commercials about some made-for-TV Menendez Brothers movie or how it was going to be this, that, and the other. And really, I mean, the press kind of gave it all the talk that they could. That was the big murder thing until the OJ thing happened, because they were so close in proximity to each other. I remember lots of weird things. I remember how gory it was, obviously, and then I also remember the stories of how there were all this abuse and so on, the sexual abuse and all this stuff that, I mean, I guess the sky was the limit for them. I know they certainly didn't show any real remorse. They went out immediately and started spending their inheritance money and burned through all of it quite quickly. Something that I thought was interesting, and I think you guys, when you tagged me, I think, you knew it, was the headline in the newspaper was Nightmare on Elm Drive. Elm Drive that's the street that they lived on when the murders happened. And that's just funny to me in a weird way, because Elm Street, Elm Drive, obviously, my history with that. So I thought that was pretty good on your part to do that, and kind of cool, to kind of get my attention that way. And that was kind of neat. But yeah, there was just a lot of stuff going on about it. But I mean, we can get more into that as the show goes on. I know it sort of captured America until the OJ thing happened.
It's funny too, because this whole thing's kind of concurrent with the O.J. Simpson thing, kind of parallel stories. And I've talked about this on the past on the show, so I apologize for kind of rehashing things that I've said before. But since we're doing this in long form now, I do want to say that when I was a kid, I remember 3 or 4 major news stories going on all around the same time. You've got the Menendez Brothers. Of course, they were covered on like Saturday Night Live. So, I mean, it's in popular culture at that point. It's not just a true crime thing. It is all over the news. You've got O.J. Simpson. I mean, I was watching the Knicks and Rockets in the finals, and they've got the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase going on. You've got the L.A. riots. That's something I haven't mentioned in the past. That was right around this time, obviously. God, L.A. was a hotbed around this time. And then you also had Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, that whole debacle, which, again, around the same time period, all this was going on. And, for me, all of this has just kind of stuck with me since then. So that's what's made this case so interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and if you think about it, something else, which I don't know if you remember this, but I certainly remember reading about it and hearing about it, the murder of Rebecca Schaefer. She was killed by her stalker right the same year that the Menendez parents were murdered. And in California, she was out there living. I want to say she was out there in Beverly Hills or somewhere like that, and he showed up on her doorstep, big fan, and then, she told him that she was dizzy and made her uncomfortable, and that, this, that, and the other. He produced a gun out of a paper sack and shot her, and she died on her doorstep. She was a big-time actress, my sister Sam, and then she was, I think, also supposed to be in The Godfather Part 3, which was released a year after she died. So all that sort of happened at the same time. So it's sort of like this. It was weird. We got a taste of rich culture, and all these rich people and affluent people in society, but the little seething underbelly that they all had, they were just as rotten as anybody else. Murder, deceit, infidelity, just all that competitiveness to the nth degree, obviously, with the Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding thing. But yeah, you sort of got to look at how, the beautiful, picturesque thing of part of Hollywood wasn't as pretty as it all seemed to be.
Exactly. And, before you guys came on the line, I was talking about, just kind of giving a little background on all the players involved here, at least the major players that are involved. So the last thing I had said was that it's crazy to me when you look at the timeline of things that Lyle Menendez is actually 50 years old now. Now, that just makes me feel old, just because, geez, man, it's been, it'll be 30 years next year since the murders took place.
Yep.
So that's insane. It doesn't feel like it's been so long.
A couple things that, right, it went through our lexicon pretty quick, but I think that, one of the things that were kind of weird about it was that he confessed to his psychiatrist, right? And so that was released. Yeah. And that was a really different thing, at least, when I read about it later on, I thought, wow, I was using that, that confidentiality that you have with your doctor. Well, you committed a crime, and he's going to tell it, and that was really in the big news at that time. But what I thought was one of the funnier things was that after they killed their parents, they went to the movies. That was part of their plan, and they went to see Batman.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Batman 1989.
But they could have went to see Halloween 5. Why didn't they do that? Didn't that make more sense? Right?
I don't know. Maybe it was in and
out
of cinema.
And they also had Nightmare on Elm Street 2 or 5 or something, right? So it was all
right. Yeah, you would think that. But think about it. Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne's parents get gunned down. So obviously in Batman there are parents that get murdered. Maybe that was. Maybe that thought that was.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but that was by the
Blake, see, that's why we have you on the show. Come up with shit like that.
It's not because I'm influential and I'm always busy with nightmare. It's because I have valid points, huh?
Exactly. And, to get the backgrounds out of the way, like I said, Eric was born November 27th, 1970 in New Jersey, and then they both attended Princeton Day School, so you can tell right off the bat that they're affluent. Jose was he was in the entertainment industry, and I think he was part of the company that actually helped produce Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is kind of a strange little factoid there. Yeah, he was a corporate executive, like I said. And then so he took his family to Calabasas, California, and then, that's where the boys lived while they were growing up. And then the following year, Eric went to high school in Calabasas. He earned average grades, and, they were both really good at tennis, apparently. And then Lyle attended Princeton University, but he got put on academic probation for 4 grades in discipline. And then there were allegations of plagiarism that surfaced during his freshman year, and he was suspended for a year. But the point I was kind of setting up here is that they're the typical rich kids in that, they had all these things given to them, and they were just fucking it left and right. Both of these two had broken into some homes, had stolen some stuff, and it's you have money. What are you doing? And, they're stealing stuff, doing poor in school, and really they just want to, do anything that any other red-blooded American male wants to do. They want to hang out with chicks and, just do their thing, spend money. But, of course, their dad, he was a hard ass. I don't know if you guys have really done any research into the dad, but his own family members have basically thrown him under the bus as just being, I don't know, the alpha male of the family. And there's nothing wrong with being an alpha male, but he was, pushing them to the point where, you can kind of see what it did to them in certain ways. And I'm not defending what they did, and I don't think that's up for debate what they did. But, you can kind of see how it ended the way it did, at least as far as he goes. Now, Kenny's a different story, but Jose Menendez, he was definitely a hard ass for sure. I don't know if you guys had looked into him at all.
I didn't.
Blake, what about you, buddy?
I had read some things that he was a hard ass, but a perfect example. My stepfather was a hard ass, and then some. And I still did. I didn't grow up to kill people or, whatever. It's about trying to escape from that, and maybe they were just so beaten by it and psychologically scarred that they couldn't. They felt like the only escape from that was the murder of their parents. But again, it's. Some of what they said is up for real debate. Because honestly, I was reading about this earlier for them we're really close to the. We just passed the anniversary, so
yesterday
of the murder. So
Yep.
get this: on August 18th, the boys purchased shotguns.
Mhm.
Okay, on the 18th, on the 19th of August,